Happy Saturday. Good morning. Just lipping up. Today's lip choice is a lip butter, hydrating with a little bit of color. And it's called Quick Getaway is the name of the color. It's pretty. It's clearly a favorite. It's almost gone. Good thing I know where to get more. Anywho, I'm so glad that you're here. Today we have a special request bake. This bake was requested and sponsored by one of you. So thank you so much. I am baking today a cherry pie. So if you are baking along with me, let me know. If you're baking this later on, let me know that too. I guess I should introduce myself. If you haven't joined us before, I'm Lisa. I am just a home baker, nothing special, no formal training, and I'm just coming to you live from my kitchen. So if you are joining me, go ahead and say hello because I don't always see who's here. Even if you are watching the replay, just drop a hey, hi, and let me know that you're here. As always, as I'm going, if you have questions, please drop them in the comments. If I don't get to them, it's just because I didn't see it, but I'll definitely respond to it later after we're finished. So I'm excited about this cherry pie today, and I'm really glad that you reached out and said, hey, why don't you bake a cherry pie? I mean, it's not typically something that you think of during holiday season, but you know what? Why not, right? It can totally be a holiday bake. So here we are baking cherry pie. Here's what you will need. You can make your own pie crust, or you can do like I did, and I'm using a little cheater. I bought this, it's like Pillsbury or something, and I did go ahead and pre-bake it. You don't have to, but you can. We'll talk about pre-baking in a little bit. I also am using a cheater top crust. So I've had this out of the fridge for a few minutes. I want it to be good and pliable, so I'm gonna use this for the top. I think I already said that. All right, what else are you going to need? The main thing, the cherries, right? So you can use fresh, you can use frozen. If you're using frozen, you do wanna defrost them. You don't have to stick to one type of cherry. If you get a couple of different types and mix them in, you know, sweet, sour, I don't know names of cherries other than sweet and sour, but whatever, right? If you can mix up different kinds of cherries. I know they come in different kinds, just like apples. So I am using frozen. I defrosted them. I pulled them out this morning, but I did zap a little bit in the microwave for like 30 seconds, stirred it, and then 30 seconds more and stirred it because I wanted them to be almost, you know, pretty much thawed. I also cut some in half and some in quarters, and I left some whole, so we'll be able to have a little variety when we are eating that pie later. Super excited about this. It sounds so good. We're also going to use 2/3 cup of sugar. We're going to use a quarter cup of cornstarch. We're going to use a tablespoon of lemon juice, a teaspoon-ish, you know how I love vanilla, so a teaspoon-ish of vanilla, a 1/4 teaspoon of almond extract, and a little bit of unsalted butter. Gonna make an egg wash that we're gonna put over the top, and then we'll just sprinkle a little extra sugar over the tip top before we bake it. It sounds easy enough so far, right? Okay, so let's get going. I'm gonna go ahead and preheat the oven. I didn't do it yet. You know what, I need to see. 400, okay. I wanted to check the recipe because I was reading a couple different ones and some had different temperatures. All right, so I'm gonna let that get going while we kind of mix some of the other components. I'm going to start first with the filling because I do wanna pop that in the fridge for a little bit while we talk crust. So I'm gonna tip you down so you can see. Let me do a swap. There we go. So this is just my cherries, right? So I know you can tell, I hope, that they are some quartered, some halves. I probably need something to stir it with. This'll do. All right, so to our cherries. You can also tell, don't worry if there's juice at the bottom, let's leave that because we're gonna use that in just a few minutes. So don't worry about the juice that you see at the bottom. Don't feel like you have to pour it out. We're gonna save those. If for some reason you already got rid of your juice, don't panic. Just kind of, you can sort of smash the cherries just a little bit and you'll get juice. You don't need a ton of juice for this part that we're going to use the juice for. If you have a ton, fine, whatever. It's not really a measuring thing. I should tell you that most of this recipe I pulled from, I think it was called Sally Bakes. Hold on, I think I wrote it down. Sally's Baking Addiction. And then of course I added a little myself because that's what I like to do. And I looked at a couple of other recipes like I mentioned. So it's kind of a mishmash. All right, so to this I'm going to add some sugar. It's plain sugar, not brown sugar. And I'm going to do, you know, I have everything all organized. There it is. About 2/3 cup. I'm just going to get in there. I just had a moment. I thought I didn't grab the right measuring cup. Oh, silly me. I've got this stoneware. Can you see it in there? That little stoneware circle. Because living in Florida on the water, it gets a little humid. So that kind of helps to keep the sugar a little bit more like sugar and not like crunchy lumps. All right, so there is cherries and sugar. I'm also going to add a 1/4 cup of cornstarch. I already measured it out because it's very powdery. Makes kind of a mess when you try to pour it out. If I just had one of those small containers, I do have a bigger container in there, but it wasn't open yet. And you know, it's got such a small little opening, so yeah, it kind of went everywhere. 1/4 cup of the cornstarch. I'm going to add lemon juice. This is the best lemon juice. It is, let me see. It's from Italy. That's what it's called. I don't know how you say it. I don't know. I got it at Dollar General, of all places. Dollar General, but it's so good. So I'm going to use about a tablespoon of lemon juice. In we go. I'm going to use a 1/4 teaspoon of almond. And guys, don't, you know, with the vanilla, I'm always like, yeah, splash a little more in. With the almond, you don't want to splash a little bit more in. A little goes a long way, and it's really easy to overpower a dish. So I'm going to do a 1/4 teaspoon. This is so cool. It's an adjustable measuring spoon. All right, there we go. And actually, you know what? I'm going to use the same measuring spoon for my vanilla. So let me get it. I'm going to do about a teaspoon. Looks like it's this whole thing. All right. Hey, thanks for jumping on. I'm glad you're here. All right, little vanilla, or a lot, whatever. It's gonna be delicious. Okay. Trying to get stuff out of the way. Okay, so I'm just gonna give this a good little mix. It smells really good. One of the nice things about using almond is that it really helps to bring out the flavor of the cherries. I don't know why that is. It's just the way it goes. The two flavors really work well together, and yeah, so you'll see a lot of recipes that have cherry and almond. All right, so that looks good. You can see that the color of the juice kind of shifted a little bit. Totally okay. I'm going to take this whole thing, spoon and all, and just pop it in the fridge for a second. I'll be right back. Okay, so while the fruit is kind of chilling, I wanted to talk to you a little bit about the crust. So I did go ahead and pre-bake my crust. So let me talk to you about pre-baking. There's really two ways. One of them is where you take your raw dough, whether it's homemade or store-bought, doesn't matter, for either of these options. You take your homemade dough in it after you get it in or your store-bought, and after you get it in your tin, you fill it with uncooked beans or popcorn, usually like a pound and a half. You can also get something called pie weights. Pour those in. You can put a piece of parchment down if you wanted to first before you pour your beans or whatever on top, and then you bake it for about 11 minutes at 400. Now, another idea that you can do, and you probably, maybe your grandma did this, I know my family, we baked it this way, is where you just poke a bunch of holes in the crust. And you do that so that it doesn't puff up and expand in really weird places, or like all over, so it stays kind of that flat pie bottom. So this process is actually called docking the crust. If you want to get a little bit bougie, you can say, I docked my crust, and that's what you did. And then again, I baked it the same, 400, about 11 minutes. I didn't bake it too long. I don't want it to be too golden brown because we're going to bake it again. So I just really wanted to get that process going on the bottom. I don't want a soggy bottom. My experience is when I have baked fruit-filled pies in the past, if I don't pre-bake the crust, it gets soggy. I don't know. Some of the recipes said you don't have to pre-bake. I don't know. I just did. So we'll see how it goes. Right? So there's that. So the next thing that I'm going to do is, I'm just reading about, okay, so the next thing that we're going to do is roll out that pie dough. Actually, I don't think I even have to roll it out because I think it is already kind of in the shape that I need. So let me take you to my workspace here. All right, so hopefully you can see. Goodness, it's hard to drive. All right, there we go. So hopefully you can see this workspace okay. I've got my roll of dough. I've got a ruler. I don't need this yet, and I don't need this yet, so I'm gonna just put these aside. I also have a pizza cutter, which pizza cutter, which I will use shortly. All right, let me get this out. Maybe. There it goes. Just tear it apart. All right, I did wash my hands, I promise, and I washed the ruler also, so we are in good shape. I've got this great mat. It's perfect for rolling out dough, but it's also nice because it's got some measurements here. So we can see how big our crust is. I like to use these pre-rolled just because they're so nice. I mean, look at that. Perfect. And I've got my ruler because I want to try to get these kind of evenly spaced, right? So I'm gonna try to do, what do you think, like 1-inch strips? And you know what, I think it's kind of okay if they are a little off. I mean, it's homemade, for crying out loud. If you have one of those fancy wheels, you can probably use that to get your lines a little bit straighter if you feel like you want them to be a little bit better. All right, so I'm just going to now kind of go down with this pizza cutter, nice and easy, get in each little groove. It cuts so nice. And the other thing that's great about these mats is it's a cutting mat, right? So I can cut right on it, no problem. So these are not great. I probably should have used the ruler better. Mental note for next time, right? Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. That seems like a good number to me. All right, I'm gonna kind of move these, stack them up, because when I get my pie out, I'm gonna put that pie here for our pie workspace. All right, we'll see. I don't know if we'll use all these, what's gonna happen. We will see. All right. I'm just reading directions, guys. Okay, here is my pre-baked pie crust. You can tell that I've kind of already docked it. So that's ready to go. The next thing that I'm going to do, I'm going to go ahead and grab the cherries, and I have a slotted spoon. So I'm going to use the slotted spoon to get the cherries out because we need to save that juice. So let me grab the cherries. All right, these are looking great. Let me just give it a little toss. Oh, y'all, it smells so good. Okay, so I want to, I did get a deep dish pie crust, so hopefully it will be enough for all of these wonderful cherries. I'm gonna kind of shake it a little bit because I don't want a ton of juice in the actual crust. So there we go. Maybe I had a little too much cherries in that scoop there. Make it a little easier to get the juices out if I don't have as many. All right, so if you are just joining us, I am just filling the pie shell with this cherry mixture. I'm using a slotted spoon because we don't really want the juice to be in this crust. Not really. It smells so good. Yeah. Just shaking it a little bit, try to get some more of the juice back in the bowl. All right, we're almost there. I don't know about you, but it has been so cold in the mornings here. It's so crazy. And then in the afternoon, it's just beautiful. Nice and warm again. This weather is crazy, crazy. Of course, I'm sitting here thinking about, I wonder if there's a tool that I could use, maybe a strainer. Maybe a strainer would have been a little bit faster. Could have poured it over another container to save the juice, and oh well, next time, right? Almost done. So what kinds of fun things are you doing this weekend? I mean, other than baking, of course. Drop a comment and let me know. It's always fun to see what people are doing. I know our town has like a holiday parade or something today. I think there's like a little holiday market and farmer's market. All kinds of good stuff. I'm trying to get these last little cherry friends. And you can actually make this filling like up to 24 hours in advance and just leave it in the fridge. And then whenever you're ready, you can go ahead and build your pie. All right, so this doesn't really have to be pretty because we're going to sort of mix it up a little bit in just a moment. So I'm going to turn you back around, maybe. Sorry. There we go. So we're going to use, hopefully you can see this pot here on the stove. I had to use this burner because it's the one that fits that pot. So I'm going to get this butter out of the way. I'm going to take some of the juice mixture that I had left over from the cherries, and I'm just going to pour it in this pan kind of over low heat. So that's probably good. I'm going to save the rest of this. I don't know what I might use it for. Maybe I'll make a sauce with it later. Oh, that might be good, like a pork sauce. Pork and cherries, sounds pretty good. I'm gonna let that sort of go for just a few minutes. What we want to happen is it to kind of reduce. So we're going to sort of let that process go. I'm gonna add a little bit more. All right. Okay, so while the juice is kind of heating up, let's sort of talk about things. I've got the oven preheated to 400, just regular, it's not convection or anything this time. I've got in the crust cherries. I actually used, I forgot to tell you, I think how much. It's about 5 cups probably of cherries. I just bought, in the frozen section, they come in bags. I just bought 2 bags and I defrosted those. And then I cut some into halves and I cut some into quarters and I left some whole. To that cherry bunch, I added, when they were defrosted, I left the juices, left everything in the bowl. To that, I mixed 2/3 cup of sugar. I mixed 1/4 cup of cornstarch, tablespoon of lemon juice, 1/4 teaspoon of almond extract, and a teaspoonish of vanilla. Mix that together, put it back in the fridge for a few minutes while I sliced lettuce for the top of the pie. I am now reducing the juices. So we'll see how that goes. I also have not ever latticed a pie, so we will see how that goes. Let me see. Oh, alrighty. I guess that's done being a light. Let me turn this one on. So we have, I'm just reading the directions. So after oh, it's already starting to kind of cook a little bit. I'm going to just give it a little stir. What will happen to the cherry juice mixture is that it will, as it kind of warms up, science will kind of start to happen and it will start to reduce a little bit, get a little bit thicker. And so that's what we're looking for. I do want it after it cooks. I want to let it cool for just a few minutes. And that should be great. So a couple of other tips for you. I'm gonna just grab my recipe because I made some notes. If you use fresh cherries, you do want to make sure they're pitted. And you know what, honestly, even with the frozen cherries, I did go through and make sure that they were pitted because nobody wants to bite into a pit. The other thing that I will tell you is it's going to end up baking about an hour, maybe 50 minutes. After the first 20 minutes, we're going to shift the temperature down a little bit. And if you have a pie shield, you might want to put it on at that point. Now, a pie shield is like a metal circle that's open in the middle. It fits around the outer crust. I don't have a pie shield, so I'm going to make one with foil. I'm just going to kind of round it up around the edges. That's going to help the crust, the edges, not get too brown or burnt or get yucky. I'm going to give these cherry juice a little stir again. And you'll see it starts to get, I have it on like low, so it's not really going to boil, but you can see it starts to get like little almost hot pockets. Let's see. Yeah, so I mean, it looks like we are on track for some general yumminess. I'm like so excited about this. One thing that's kind of cool about putting the reduced cherry sort of mixture on is it's going to help sort of make, when you cut into the cherry pie, it's going to make kind of that nice, yummy, sort of, I don't know what you call it, filling, I guess. That I don't know, it's just gonna make it a little bit better. Boy, I am making a mess. I've got some all over the side of the container already. Side of the pot. All right, I need to keep it going. I'm going to turn up the heat just a little bit. I also am going to, after I lattice the top, I'm going to brush it with the egg wash and then sprinkle just a little bit of sugar on the top just so it'll look a little bit prettier and brown nicely. I think what I will do while I'm sitting here or standing here, I'm going to shift things a sec. I'm going to move some things around, reorganize. Got all of my stuff for later. I'm gonna just put my pie right here so I can have a nice workspace right here. And then I can lattice it up as we go. I did like super clean this, so we'll be in good shape. Let me get the butter because we are going to dollop a little bit of butter on the pie before we lattice it up. So exciting. I probably should have saved the other spatula that I was using because I'm gonna need to mix it. You know what, I'm gonna just grab a regular spoon. So let me go do that. Good to go. Good to go. Just check on my cherry juice. I did actually just turn it up a little bit more. I do want it to kind of reduce, so it needs to get a little bit warmer to do that. I know that the directions said keep it on low, but honestly, I need to bump it up a little bit. Really get it going. I would show you, but it's boring. There's nothing to see in the pot. It's just cherry juice. Boring. But it's definitely like starting. I'll show it to you in just a minute as it gets kind of going. When I start to kind of mix things up, in here when I pour the juice in, it's not gonna, there's no right or wrong, so it's kind of nice. You can just pour it over and kind of go for it. It does smell really good, y'all. Super excited. Maybe this will be a new holiday tradition, the cherry pie. You do want to keep this in the fridge after it's done, and you can store it. It'll stay fresh for about 5 days. Good stuff. I'm just gonna wipe off the side of this pan a little bit. Got real problems. I don't. Just made a little mess. That little mess just got a little bit bigger. I just dropped the spoon. Good stuff. Okay. So this is kind of funny. You know how on Facebook you got like that memories section? So I noticed on mine a few days ago that I posted like maybe, I don't know, I don't remember what year it was, but early in my Facebook life, like I want to say it said like 2007 or something. I said I was watching some cooking show and it was just, this person was just so perfect. And wouldn't it be great if just a regular girl had a cooking show and, you know, you could see her make mistakes and stuff. Here I am. I mean, I'm certainly not comparing myself to those people on TV, but I just thought it was funny that I posted that and I'd forgotten about it, and then kind of started doing this when we all started staying home. All right, it is not yet getting thicker, but it's got like little kind of swirls on the top, so I can tell that it's kind of getting started. Let me show you what I mean. So I don't know if you can see. Let me show you what I mean. So you can kind of see how it looks a little bit swirly, or maybe you can't because it's kind of a dark pan. Let me see if I can get my ring light to come back on. Ah, perfect. Here we go. Yeah, swirly goodness. So it's gonna start reducing any second. Super exciting. That burner's real sticky where I spilled the cherry juice. but it smells good, like kind of sugary. All right, it's just starting to thicken up a little bit now. So that'll be ready in just a few minutes. While we are waiting, I'm gonna go grab the foil and I'm gonna make my shield real quick. So do that. Really easy. I just like to grab kind of a long amount, and then I just kind of roll it the long way. Oh yeah, we're reducing nicely now. It's almost done. All right, and then I do like to leave just a little hang. And then what I will do is kind of wrap it around. It looks like I'll need to make one more, but I kind of wrap it around the top of the crust. So like I said, so it doesn't get too burnt or too done. I like to leave a little overhang because it gives me something to easily kind of grab. All right, let's check on our, oh, it's done. Yeah, it's looking good. All right, I am going to just let that sort of cool a second. Let me show you what it looks like. It is almost, can you see that? Like you can draw your spoon through and it leaves a mark in the pan. Like, so it's almost like if I melted some jelly. So I'm taking it off the burner. I'm gonna just let it cool for a few minutes and then we should be good to go. While I'm letting that cool, I'm gonna make my other half of my pie wrap. Same thing, just kind of scrunching. And this, like I said, won't go on at first. It'll go on after about 20 minutes. Little overhang. Perfect. Perfect. All right, let me go put some trash away. I'll be right back. Okay, so let's take a look. Maybe it's nice and ready now. So I'm going to tip you so you can see the pie. And I'm just going to kind of pour this over the top. Really want to scrape in here too to try to get as much of this into the pan as I can. It's just going to add a little extra flavor, a little extra depth to the pie. Should be pretty yummy. And then I'm just going to take my spoon and just gently sort of mix it. It's going to kind of thicken up a little bit because the cherries are cold and that melted mixture was warm. Okay, so I'm thinking this is looking fabulous. Okay, so now let's talk top crust. Just trying to smooth out the cherries. That looks pretty good. All right, so top crust. You could do a top crust over the whole thing. If you do that, I would vent it, so make a couple of cuts, maybe 3, 4, so that the steam can get out. You can also do a whole cover, and I've seen some people do like a cutout of cherries. Pull that out, and then you put the part that you cut out back kind of on off to the side, so it's a little decorative. But I'm gonna try lattice, so we'll see how this goes. So I've got my dough, and I think I'm gonna start with these sort of longer strips, and I'm going to put them the long way first. The long way. I don't know if there's a long or a short way. It's a pie, it's round. If you have extra pie pieces, don't panic. You can bake those separately. You can cut them into small pieces and use a little cinnamon and sugar on them. It'll be pretty yummy. So I'm going to just tuck these over here. I wonder if I can air fry them. And then all I'm gonna do is kind of build like a lattice. So I'm gonna go under that, over that, under that. Easy. And then the next one, I'm gonna go over the first one, but under the second one. So I'm just gonna kind of lift it up, pull it through, over, and then under the last one. So far so good, right? And then I'm gonna start this one over, and then I'm going to go under, over, under. So it makes sort of like that window pane look. Looks super cute, right? All right, I'm gonna take just a small knife and I'm going to cut off the overhang bits. I think I'm definitely gonna have to do something yummy with this leftover dough. Wonder if I can put it in the air fryer. So because I pre-baked the crust, I won't be able to adhere and smash the two together. But I've got some ideas. So if you did not pre-bake your crust, you could now sort of smash the two together. Instead, I'm going to take my fork and I'm going to just sort of press the dough down over the crust that's already there. It should adhere nicely, and then I'm also going to use the egg wash, so that will help. By using the fork, I can also add a little decoration, make it look a little pretty. So I'm actually doing, looks like a combination of fork and fingers. Totally okay. Oh yeah, this is working just fine. Kind of pretty. I'm just so excited about this. Have I mentioned that? I feel like I might want to lattice everything now. It looks so pretty. Making a cake, lattice it. Making cookies, lattice them. All right, I'm just gonna kind of go back around, make sure everybody's happy. Yeah, it looks good. All right, excellent. Now, for the egg wash, I have 1 egg and about a tablespoon of milk. So I'm just going to gently sort of mix those together. And then I'm gonna brush it over the top. It's gonna give it a nice shine, and it's also going to make it so pretty and golden brown. All right. There we go. Let me just put this in the sink. This is the brush I'm gonna use. It is a silicone brush. I have used like brush brushes before, but I find honestly that sometimes they leave bristles, which is kind of gross. So I have switched to silicone. No bristles left behind. So I'm just going over all of the crust, even the part that was pre-baked. Totally okay. And it's okay if you get a little bit on the cherries. All right, ooh, I'm kind of dripping there. All right, so that looks really pretty. Okay, now let me see, because I know I need to, I think I want to put it on a baking sheet. I do. Okay, so baking sheet. So I'm going to put it just on this baking sheet. And you know what I just realized I forgot to do? Add the butter. Guys. All right. We're going to just drop some in now. First things first, let me put this on here. I'm just going to take little dollops of butter and drop them in between the lattice. If you're using cold butter, really cut them into kind of small pieces. My butter is softened, so that's why I'm kind of having to use my finger a little bit to push it. And you don't need a whole lot in each section. It's just gonna also melt as it cooks. It's gonna help the overall flavor of the pie, but also kind of helps the crust a little bit. So full of deliciousness, this pie. Got a couple little spots there where I got a little crazy with the lattice, it looks like. I mean, cutting it. Okay, that's good. All right, I am going to just set that there, wipe off my finger, and then I wanted to add a little bit of sugar just to the top. So I'm just going to kind of go in here and just grab some sugar and just sprinkle it just over the top. If you have like a coarser sugar, like a sanding sugar, that'll look really pretty because it'll keep its shape as it bakes. This won't, but it will kind of crystallize, not crystallize, caramelize on the top and look really pretty. All right, so there's that. So let me just read the directions, see what else we forgot to do. Large baking sheet. Okay, so I'm gonna pop it in the oven now. Give me a second. Alexa, set a timer for 20 minutes. Okay, so pie's baking. And I'm going to let it go for 20 minutes. Then I'm going to take it out. I'm going to put the foil covers that I made around the edges. I'm also going to, at that time, lower the heat to 375. And I'm going to bake it for about 30 or 40 more minutes. What you want is the pie to be kind of steaming. You want the crust to look done, and where you have kind of the pockets of the lattice or the vents, you want to be able to see a little bit of that juice from the cherries kind of bubbling up. Let's see. And actually it says the juices should be bubbling for about 5 minutes before you pull it out. So you'll definitely want to have your light on in the oven for that. And then we're going to take it out, let it cool for about 3 or 4 hours before you slice into it. Otherwise, it will just fall apart, and you really want to give it a chance to kind of get happy together. You could, yeah, that's all. You just don't want it to be too juicy. You could always reheat it after you slice it, and that'll be okay. Otherwise, it doesn't. The juices don't have a chance to sort of solidify or whatever kind of thing that they do. So that's that, guys. That is cherry pie from scratch, not from a can. And yeah, we'll see how it tastes later. I'm thinking a little ice cream, maybe on top. I don't know. Sounds pretty good. So thank you so much for joining me, and I appreciate the suggestion and sponsoring this bake. So thank you. The person wanted to be anonymous, so there you go. But thank you. So as always, if you want to send me an idea for a bake, please do. If you want to sponsor a bake, I'm down for that, and I will be happy to let you know how to make that happen. And yeah, I will see you at the next bake. Have a great rest of your week, and thank you so much for joining me. All right, bye.